your help in getting the funding that was needed.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank Ranking Member Blunt, too. And I want to thank you, Inspector General Bolton, for being here. I do think it bears repeating how appalling January the 6th attack was for all of us, and it remains a stain on our democracy. So I appreciate everything that you've done, but I also mostly want to express again my sincere thanks and appreciation to all of our Capitol Police officers and law enforcement personnel that were protecting our Capitol that day. It's always great when you're on the dais and the person in front of you asks the question that you were going to ask, because last time you were here, I was asking about the canines. And the reason I ask about them from another perspective is what the chairman mentioned, being on the Appropriations Committee when I was the chair for the Capitol Police Appropriations. There was a whole lot of talk about expanding the use of canines into different types of areas, more perimeter, purchase of these dogs. We know the training and the purchase is very expensive. And so I don't need for you to repeat. It sounds like it's the training aspect as to how they can use the canine units better. And do you anticipate that as the training improves for the canines, that they would expand their different parameters of what they can be used for? I know some of them are used for sniffing toxic materials, some of them are used for other, obviously inspecting vehicles, those kinds of things. Is that the type of thing you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely, yes, ma'am. Whether it be the vapor wake dogs or the regular, your traditional canine sweep vehicles, having that training is so important, and they continuously train because you got to make sure that the dogs are performing the way they should be performing.
Right. The other thing I would say, and I think all of us, certainly I do, on my phone as early as this morning as I was deciding how to navigate the way into the Capitol, since January the 6th, we are getting repeated messages on our phones that raise our awareness as to what streets are closed, for what purpose, what's going on Capitol Hill. And I think that was one, from a member's perspective, one of the big fallacies of that day, because we didn't know really what was going on, where there were safe areas, and
how is that any different than every day?
Well, this is true. This is true. Yes, like today we don't know what's going on, but we do know what roads are closed. I'll say that. But I do want to express appreciation both to this Sergeant of Arms, but also to the Capitol Police, because they have upped their communications with, at least with me personally, and I assume everybody. And I'm appreciative of that, because we do need to know, we do use it, so the alerts are very useful. One of the one of the aspects that I picked up in one of your reports is that there was no continuous radio contact between the officers. They were having trouble coordinating, communicating with one another. Has that been improved? It seems to me that would be something that would be, I don't want to say anything's easy, but easier to improve than maybe some of the long-term training aspects of this.
That's a hard one to, in a sense, as far as the communication, because we haven't had something similar to that. But I think certainly what I would say was improvement is by issuing all the officers with department cell phones, so they can receive those very alerts that you just had mentioned with street closures, to give them that situational awareness in real time, because there is difficult when you do have an incident. People end up overusing the radio, and your communications ends up breaking down. Right. But I think the long-term answer to that is through additional training and being able to, once things get a little bit more settled down, to have either tabletop exercises, having areas to instruct these officers how to do radio discipline.
Well, it seems to be training is the aspect that's come very forward in all of your recommendations. And I'm wondering if there has been, or are there plans to be like a full-out drill of these trainings, of the drill of a like incident, so that you can, deploy these training, in real life. You're not just sitting in a classroom or looking at something on a computer. To your knowledge, has there been a full-out drill, an evacuation drill? I question the evacuation standards that were used to actually remove us from the chamber. So those are questions that I'm wondering, have we actually drilled this training?
What I've seen is they have to continue to do at least the evacuation training, but not the overall, I think what you're thinking about. They'll do it in the bits and pieces. Or the child care center, we're evacuating that Fairchild building, or some of these individual buildings, and we'll just do it as opposed to a whole encompassing, like, a situation where you had to evacuate the entire Capitol complex, which is very difficult to do. Let's make no mistake about that, because especially if Congress is in session, that's not going to happen. We're not going to do a training exercise if anyone's in session, so it
Right.
had to be something where during a break.
Well, in my view, the fact that it's very difficult to do speaks to the need to do it. Yes, I would agree when we're in session that would cause additional problems, but I do think that, and the reason I've got this top of mind is the horrifying shooting in the school that occurred in Michigan last week. If you read some of the reports from the students and the teachers as to what they did, they had drilled as to what to do if there was an active shooter in their school, and they barricaded themselves into the classrooms. They had practiced this, and I think, honestly, it saved lives. So it kind of reinforced to me how important actually physically drilling really difficult situations in the whole would save lives in the end. So thank you very much for all your work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Capito. Senator King, member of the Intelligence Committee as well.